Hi, everybody. Welcome to Best Only World. I'm Jacqueline Best, and I have the beautiful, wonderful, talented Risaria Langley from the UK with us.
Hi.
And we're all saying Happy Valentine's Day, heart to heart, because we're feeling so fine on this Valentine's. Is that kind of like a rhyme? I feel so fine on this Valentine.
We have to feel good. Feel good Valentine.
Okay. Feel good Valentine's, and then I feel fine. So, are you feeling good?
I'm feeling really good. I changed I don't remember if I told you last week, I changed the name of my film company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to Feeling Fabulous Films. But I've also changed the title of the romantic comedy I'm writing to My Feel Good Valentine.
Ah, okay.
Very different, yes. And since I've been using those words, that phrase, I've just been really enjoying it and doing things like picking up a chocolate heart for myself. It didn't last long. It was lovely.
Chocolate doesn't last long in our house either.
And rearranging the furniture, which has actually made me feel really good. And luckily, Jacqueline edits this so that you just see this section of me. Whereas if you go one way to the left, you'll see the curtain pole that my brother's going to come and put up for me. And if you go that way, you'll see the plastic sheet covering my sofa while I'm painting the wall.
It's a perfect studio.
It is. It's the perfect studio.
Well, it's very important, I think, what you just said about changing the words and then noticing that you change the placement of things in your house, because words are power, right? Words, thoughts are forces. And that's what I do a lot of work with people, just clearing up their language, because they adopt words and they say words. Like one of the, just that's coming to people say, oh, the universe has got my back. And I say to them, what does that mean to you? Like, what are you really saying? Because you're just repeating a phrase that you've heard.
Yeah.
I said, like, I don't want anybody on my back.
And the thing is, if it's up here and it's just coming out your mouth, you're not really feeling it. And so that's why it's good to explore how the words really feel deep inside emotionally with you. Yeah.
So you're feeling fabulous and feel good Valentines, and you're writing a romantic comedy.
Yes, I am. And it's feeling great, and it's attracting things and realizing that my vibration's changing. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually attracting men into my life in everyday life. On Monday, I decided the windows were dirty, so I went outside with my trusty squeegee to clean them. And I saw there was a man cleaning the windows next door. And I said, are you a window cleaner? Because my neighbour has lots of sons and grandsons. And he said, yes. And then I looked and I saw there were loads of them. And I said, are you coming round regularly? And he said, we've been coming for years. And I've been living here. He said, we come on a Monday, once a fortnight. And I thought, I've lived here for a whole year.
And never seen them.
I've never seen them. And in the summer, I go out and sit at the front and have breakfast and then morning coffee. I'd not seen them at all. So I've arranged for them to come, and they're doing the front and the back. I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but where I used to live, it was really difficult to get the window cleaner to come to the back. They just do the fronts.
No, so, we actually do. If we're going to hire someone to do the windows, they do all the windows.
Right. So
but I think that, again, it's what you said, is you just notice them. So I think people need to get that life is happening around them all the time. And when you change your lens, right, when you change feeling fabulous and feel good Valentines, and even those words, just I can feel that exuding of energy of love and this energy that's attractive, you know, in that sense that it's pulling in this new feeling. You're seeing new things.
Yeah. And I said, how many of you are there? There's 6 of us. So these 6 men have been coming every Monday into my street and going along. And it's great. And they're doing it for £2.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's incredible. That's like what, $1?
Yeah.
$2? Yeah, $1.50, something like that. Oh, it's like,
so is £2 a man or £2 in total for 6 men? That's a pretty good deal.
It's £2 for the whole thing.
So tell us about your film that you're writing. So the romantic comedy, is this the one that you mentioned about, you know, the Chinese producers?
No, that's another film that my colleague has written, but where I put in a funding application to meet up to help work with her preparing that for the meeting with the Chinese. So I've had a conference call with the business advisor, and I'm going to an export training on Friday. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, you know, just to get a bit of an idea of the culture. And one useful thing, very useful, was one advisor said to me, the Chinese like to say yes. So they'll say yes, 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 and then nothing happens. So it's made me step up my game, and I said, right, they want to meet us in Berlin and they want to meet us in China. And I said, we need to ask them to show commitment to fly us out there, pay our expenses.
Right.
That's what we're doing. And I'm just like, yes, this feels good to do this, because it means that showing we're committing, we've sent our work, we're prepared to go over. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be going just, right. Yeah, they're having a party, and I don't want to just go to a party and sightsee.
Right.
We're there for business. We're there to do a deal. Yes. Yes. And so knowing these cultural differences. Mm-hmm. And I also said, would they be offended? And they said, no, that would be the normal way. They would normally, if they've invited you, they should expect to pay. So this feels good. Yes,
they're saying yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes. So I'm happy they're saying yes, 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 yes. And luckily, they have rung us. They've contacted us after the initial introduction. They rang my colleague. So feels so good. And I would like to introduce my romantic comedy to them. So yes, so it feels good.
It feels good Valentine's Day. And, you know, I mean, so many people think of Valentine's Day just as relationship, right? Yeah. I just feel that it's this moment just to celebrate love, right?
Yeah.
Loving yourself, loving whoever, just love in general, that it's ever present and we want to see it growing across the planet.
And what helped raise my vibe, I turned my computer on about 6:30. Uh-huh. And there was a Valentine's card from a friend. And I was like, oh, this is great. And it just gives you such a good lift. It's wonderful.
Yeah, people need to really recognize, I think, for themselves, if they're feeling low, you know, if they're feeling stressed, that if they start to feed their soul, right, they start to feed with more joy, following your bliss, like we've been talking about here week after week, that they're choosing more freedom, they're choosing more joy, and things start to open up and you start to notice 6 guys outside every week.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I read an article on Monday. Uh-huh. I don't know if if it was just a British thing, but we used to have milkmen who used to deliver, mm-hmm. And with cheap milk in supermarkets and plastic bottles, they tended to they disappeared.
Right.
But apparently they're making a comeback as people are wanting glass bottles, returnable bottles. And I read that there's a place about 20 miles from me where they may have continued doing this, but they're actually promoting it now. And coming home yesterday, I saw a milk float in my street in the afternoon. And I went and knocked on his window and I said, "Are you a milkman?" Well, it was a float. It looked like a milk float and it had empty crates in.
Right.
And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Do you deliver here?" And he said, "Yeah." So he's coming tomorrow. And I said, "I'm concerned because, you know, I won't want it every day." And he said, "No, we come 4 days a week. And he does organic milk. They deliver in litres. So he's bringing one tomorrow. And then I'll have my next one when I come back from Berlin."
Awesome. Fabulous. Because the only one that I know that does milk in glass jars is a farmer back in Ontario, where I was. And I knew most of the cow shareholders, which are now farm shareholders, because he would provide raw milk in the jars. And raw milk is illegal in Canada.
Yeah,
right?
It's not pasteurized.
Because it's not pasteurized. So that would be it. They had to buy shares in a cow to start out with, so they would be allowed to drink it off the farm. And then it's amazing to me how much money the government has spent shutting him down, because it was all by word of mouth that people wanted him, and it was always jam-packed for the shareholders, because you had no share.
Yeah.
But yet they didn't want that possibility to exist. And then they went through they had to design it around the farm. So that was it. And they've really done everything they can to shut this whole operation down. It is amazing. And so you can tell me, Risaria, does the Queen drink raw milk?
I don't know. She didn't mention it when I have met her.
That's coming after the rave reviews of Feel Good Valentine. and
Charles, he has a brand called Dutchy, which is the down in Cornwall, and they have farms and they do everything organic. So the pigs, the cows, and everything. So I don't know if they do raw milk, but they certainly do organic milk.
Right.
And I'm sure that they will. I'm sure they'll be supplying his mum.
Well, I think that is it's a very good point, right? Prince Charles has always had a big heart towards the environment.
Yeah.
And moving to biodynamic farming and good solid practices that way.
Yeah.
And providing organic. So he is very much working with the nature of life and trying to encourage that movement. And hence why he may be not so popular with some of the regular business people.
Yeah. And I noticed there was a photograph today of Meghan Markle and Harry, because she hugged a woman. Which isn't, she hugged in public. And this woman's the founder of a Scottish cafe. It's a social enterprise to help the homeless get back into employment.
Right.
And they were saying, we need these in the South. We need these, especially in Windsor, because they're getting married in Windsor. And anyone sleeping rough is fined £100.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, we really need to sort this, you know.
So tell us just a little bit. So basically sleeping rough is like you're sleeping on the street?
Yes. So if you have sleeping bags on the street and you're sleeping rough, and anyone who's homeless is, it can be fined £100 in Windsor, which is the royal area. Yeah.
Right. So they're fined when they don't have the money to live in a house. See how ridiculous.
Yeah, they're fined money they don't have.
That's the same as I always find that with banks. You know, it's like the person that doesn't have the money to cover the check. You know, that they had good intentions, but poof, and they get fined. In Canada, we have $40. You know, because they don't have the money. And I'm like, if they didn't have the money the first time. You know, this is what I feel is new and changing, as people are recognizing when we're following your bliss, that possibilities open up and you can feel expanded versus contracted by rules from the past, and new and innovative ideas like the social cafe, or just just being present to your joy is a new idea for so many people. Following your bliss is like, whoa, really?
And I was thinking that as I'm painting, I realize what I'm trying to do is to do a job in the way my father did. And I just sent a text to my brother this morning saying, I wish I was a better painter. And I realized I'm using a completely different type of paint. Mm-hmm. It's a chalk paint. And I rang my friend because her son had painted some tables for her. And we talked about this because I said, you can see every brush stroke. And I said, in a way, I quite like that effect, but I've been trying to brush the brush strokes out. And she said, oh, yes, she said, my son used a roller. And she said, I can see the roller strokes. And she said, it was a big thing for me to let him do that job because she likes to be in control and she would do it her way. And I thought we swing between those two things, don't we? We have to do it our way and we become overwhelmed because we take so much on, mm-hmm. or else we think it's not good enough because it doesn't look like someone else's. Like we compare ourselves all the time to others. And I just thought that was so typical, saying, I wish I was a better painter. And I just thought, all I need to do is paint to satisfy me. And I said, I'm looking at the curtain rail where the pearl's going to go and thinking, oh, it doesn't look very good up by the ceiling, the brushwork. And I thought, who's going to stand on a ladder looking? and I'm not going to go up there again. It's mad.
It is. And it's like, I think there come a time where people recognize that those, what we think are those thoughts about those things about not good enough or I need to control it are like archaic radio stations. When you listen to back on, the radio back in the 40s or the 50s about what was going on in history, and you hear that little transmission, that will eventually people go, wow, let's just turn that right off now because I'm turning on the one that says, I want to feel joyful. I want to feel good about what I'm doing. And I'm actually feeling good at what I'm painting, what I'm expressing, and just be content with it. And it's so important, especially when there's more than one person in a house, right? Like I have 4 at the moment because my daughter's boyfriend has been staying with us. And, you have to feel that there's a win, yeah. 4 wins. And it's interesting because as we were all following that and allowing things to happen, then it just became the natural progression to say, okay, now we all felt it's time for him to move on. And we were able to love and support him. So he now has this freedom and this new adventure that he's going on and found his own place. And I that's what I want to see happening in the world, that everybody feels like they're getting wings, new wings all the time and following their bliss.
That's it. And so now I realize, okay, I don't know why I have this idea of this standard of painting, because I remember when I was with my ex-husband, there was a big trend for what they call rag rolling, where you dipped a rag in paint and pressed it on the wall to get this amazing textured finish. Okay. And we did that on our freshly plastered walls. And I said, you realize we've actually recreated the look of the walls we just replastered. And it's just what's fashionable and trendy. So there is no set rigid rule or line. It's just how you please yourself.
Yeah. Yes, how you please yourself is a whole other episode. No.
It's also Valentines, because I said to my friend after I spoke to her this morning, I said, and please yourself because she's doing so much for her mother.
Right.
And I said, and remember to do something fun for yourself. She has a lot of clients and she's looking after her mother. Mm-hmm. But it's that thing of remembering to please yourself.
Yeah. And it can be something simple like, eating the Valentine's Day chocolate, right?
Yeah.
Having a walk. It could be cleaning your window and then noticing there's 6 guys outside. You know, um, yeah, I think that's part of your romantic comedy. Okay, if you haven't written that part of the script, as she goes to clean the window, and there's a guy, there's six. You can have lots. It's a hot summer day. Their shirts are off.
Yeah, it was a bit parky yesterday, as we say. That means it's really cold. But maybe in the summer, this is a treat to look forward to.
I mean, now that your eyes are opening here to what's going on your road, there you go. But it's so, I believe it's so true, is when you focus on what you want, and that's where, with my daughter's boyfriend, we just had to say, is he was like, I don't know, I don't really care, right? I don't know, I don't really care. And it's like, no, okay, yeah. You have to choose.
Yes.
You have to choose, because otherwise the default program kicks in. It's, in terms of that. And then once we got him to just write down and do it, it was so much fun to watch his delight, because he's never had this experience before. He really got groomed with it in 6 weeks of being with us. And he got what he wanted, exactly, a roommate. And he was able to do it within his budget, because he thought he'd have to wait to the beginning of the month. But
wow.
The person said he wanted it prorated for the middle of the month, because he wants all the money at the beginning of the month, right? So it was like, it was just beautiful to see somebody who had never done this type of work that we've done, just to follow the coaching and start to focus, write it down, and then see what happens in the universe.
Great.
We're all following our bliss, aren't we?
We are. And if we don't, we end up suffering for it. So we learn one way or the other. And it's funny, because I rang my mother to wish her happy Valentine's Day. And we usually have 3 topics that a call often has three topics of conversation, which is one, I haven't spoken to you for blah, 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 blah. But instead, because I thought, I'm only going to ring when I feel really inspired to ring my mother.
Right.
And I did. And she just said, I've been meaning to ring you. And I was like, wow. Because I think I've had 2 phone calls in my life from my mother.
Oh, wow.
Just ring. She expects you to ring. But so for her to say this was fabulous. And so we started the Valentines thing. And I was telling her all the news and about my son in Singapore. And we started to talk about, she said, oh, I won't ever get there. And I said, well, if you like, we could fly together. And so she then goes into a list of why she can't get out the house, which is all psychological. It's the anxiety. And I said, well, do you feel better being in your nice, safe home? She said, no. And I said, well, we could go there and you could have more fun. And I just thought, okay, if she doesn't want to go, I'm not persuading her. I'm going to go and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think that's such an awareness that we get to with other people, is recognizing that they're comfortable, in a sense, in their their misery, their, what I mean? That's how I would see it, but they're comfortable in it. And that's their, those are the clothes they put on, and that's the role they like to play, and they're okay with it. And the thought of stepping out and following your bliss and going to Singapore with you and seeing her grandson opens up like too many things for her at this moment.
Yeah. And this week there is so much to celebrate, because yesterday was Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday here, and it's also Chinese New Year. So my son is in Hong Kong at the moment to celebrate Chinese New Year.
Yeah, and Chinese New Year isn't just one day in China, right? Like, I think people don't, like, we do New Year's Eve and in North America, and that's it. Like, New Year's Eve, your New Year's Day, and you're gone. Chinese New Year is like a week-long event.
Yeah, it's here in Newcastle. It started at the weekend, but I was away but I'm hoping to catch up on some of the things this weekend. So it's, it's just brilliant going to Chinatown and seeing the dragon and the parade. It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be going to the Buddhist monastery on Saturday for a Chinese New Year blessing.
Great.
So yeah.
There's something for everyone.
Yeah, there's something for everyone. That's what I loved in Toronto is there was actually like a whole little area just outside of Toronto, just like that just was like the Chinese community perfectly, right? Like,
yes,
they'd all moved back from when Hong Kong was given back from the British to China, and they moved to Richmond Hill because rich is what they wanted to stay. Again, when we're talking about words and feel good, and the whole little town became pretty much Chinese, and because it was rich man. I'm a rich man. And
brilliant.
Yes, it's all about feeling good and following your bliss. So what else are you going to do? You still have the afternoon there and the evening. Do you have anything else you're going to celebrate for the love?
I'm going to carry on painting because this feels like it's pulling the love into my room. And I'm really enjoying it. I've got loads of plants now. I was given some plants when I came back, because I've been in London for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
Working on a script there. And when we drove back, my friend who was driving stopped at some relatives, and the woman is a gardener, and I was just admiring her plants. And so she's given me a money plant and a papyrus plant. Because I'm really into this having lots of flowers around. And I'd wrapped some daffodils and tulips to take to my friend and forgotten them. So they were sitting there in the paper without water for 4 days. And when I got back, the daffodils were okay, a little bit dry, but the tulips were completely flat and limp and wilted. And so I just cut the stems off and got rid of the leaves, put them in water, and 3 hours later. And I think that's a lesson for us all. When you're in the right environment, mm-hmm. you pick up really quickly. And it's something to remember. And we can do it for ourselves. This was something, I was listening to an Abraham talk today, and somebody was saying, but what about helping people who are negative? How do I help them? And she said, we all have our inner being. And if their inner being can't get them out of it, you sure as hell can't. All you can do is do it for yourself. Mm. And it's just such a great feeling, recognizing that. And it's not about separating ourselves off. For a time, I felt I needed to be with more people who were doing this kind of work. Mm-hmm. But everybody has something to offer. And it's that thing of people who are in a negative state actually do sort of make you give you a bit of a wake-up call. And you see exactly where you are. Yeah. And, it's fun. They can be very funny. And it's great when I get my mum laughing. We're laughing by the end. We had quite a few laugh moments on the call, which is great.
It is. And laughing, like we talked, just laughing, feeling free, and allowing, right, when you're sharing about negative space, right, that if their inner being can't get them out, how can you get them out? And I feel like a lot of us have wanted to go rescue those person. We've been doing a lot of conversations about, someone's treading water, and you bring the raft up and you say, get on the raft.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, no, I think that boat over there is coming, or, they're still treading, like, no, I still, and you're like sitting there, and they want to actually pull you in the water because you're wanting to get them out so much. You start to get, and it's just recognizing it's okay that they've made the choice of treading water. It's okay that they're in the space they're in, because I know gosh darn well that I lived in that space. Yeah. And it was because I was in that space and finally gave up and said, okay, this can't be my life being on medication for my whole life. You know, not having children, even though I didn't want them, and working, you know, corporately. Like I had to decide. And once you decide to say, I want difference, then you become awake and aware that there is an option. As long as you feel that the door is always closed and it can't even open just a smidgen, the door is closed.
And once you start to recognize negative in people, it means that that's vibrating in the negative, on the negative in you. It's striking a chord in you. And often, if you're like, I can see when I'm on the bus, when I'm in a really good mood, I'm attracting people who are in a really good mood. And yesterday I attracted a unicorn. It was so wonderful. This little girl in a unicorn outfit skips onto the bus, and it was just like everybody's beaming at her and laughing because she's so full of joy, and the whole bus sort of lifts up. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. What you just said is you people go, well, what do you mean? I'm positive. What do you mean I'm attracting that? And the sense is when you're really feeling that joy, when you're really following your bliss, that light just exudes from you, right? It exudes from you, and others, you know, others feel it, they're present to it. And it's almost like, in some cases, I feel like the analogy, it's like the negative in that sense that you think are negative have actually either gone away or they've turned around because of that force. When you feel the opposite, that you feel you're being brought down to someone's level of negativity, that's a reflection for you to say there's still something that needs to be cleared for yourself, or however you want to look at, let go of, you know, but being in the sense of joy and following your bliss is really what it's all about.
And it isn't about making a giant leap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes the biggest step can be, if you're depressed, moving to the next stage, which may be anger, because that gives you some movement, or up to jealousy, or just overwhelmment can actually be an improvement. But it's, you know, and it's just each stage is recognizing your emotions and realizing how you feel is, but not necessarily putting it out and going away chatting about it, because that actually just gives it more energy. And this morning I put Michael Bublé on, I played a Valentines song, and I just thought, you know, I really want some Christmas songs. So I put Christmas music on. And it really got me in the mood. It's whatever works for you.
It's exactly whatever works for you. We just love sharing some of the things that have been working for us on following your bliss. And we hope that you have a good feeling Valentine's Day today. And we look forward to sharing more next week.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.